Hey,
Hey everyone, welcome back to Screen Review. My name is Megan.
I'm Hannah.
All right, thanks, Hannah. Before we jump into the show, just a real quick social media shout out. If you're not following us already, you definitely should be at Boca Tribune. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, really wherever. And if you want to watch the show later, you can find us again on YouTube. We'll be on the IGTV and also archived on the Facebook. So make sure to check us out at Boca Tribune. So today we're going to be talking about Dallas Buyers Club, a movie that came out in 2013. It was rated R, and it runs about 2 hours long. So, as always, we're going to give our general thoughts, spoiler-free, before jumping down into the plot of the movie. So, Hannah, spoiler-free, general thoughts. Tell us your thoughts.
Well, so you just said it was 2 hours, and I guess I never even, it felt long and short at the same time. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely enjoyed watching this. I liked it better than I thought I would. I don't know. Yeah, but it felt long, but also, so.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't have a lot to say about, the color this time.
Yeah, same for me as well. I guess Hannah and I were kind of talking a little bit before the show on the phone, and we were saying how, in terms of cinematography, in terms of, outfit choices, color choices, really whatever you can talk about it for a movie, even soundtrack, really, there was nothing super, super striking about this movie in terms of what they did. I mean, sure, it was obviously a big production, it was good quality. You can tell they put money into it. So, of course, it was a good movie in terms of production quality, but really nothing that we can talk about that's not a spoiler that's super gripping, I guess you could say. Besides the acting, of course, was of a high caliber. I mean, last week we joked about making fun of Matthew McConaughey, but he did a good job. And later we'll talk about people who were going to play the role of Ron, and I'm so happy that it was McConaughey and not these people.
That's funny.
Yeah, so a little bit. It is based on a true story, though. It's loosely based on a true story, so it is kind of important to note. And I mean, lots of movies, this isn't a spoiler, but lots of movies touch on the subject of HIV and AIDS. And I think that this movie did a good job when dealing with it.
Yeah, I agree. It was, like I was telling you, it wasn't overly sad. It's not going to be as triggering or as harmful to watch as it could have been. And so I appreciated that. It wasn't poignantly to watch, nothing, but it wasn't easy, obviously, but I wasn't brought to tears because they didn't just focus so much on death, and they really focused on living your life to the fullest. And so I appreciated that a lot.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the things that I were reading saying that this was more of a character study of Ron Woodruff versus anything else. And I think this movie really kind of sticks to that throughout the movie.
That's a good description of it, because you can tell it's obviously a glamorized version of a person, which is what a character is. They're not. Yeah. So that's a good description of what this movie is, because that was good.
Thank you. I pat myself on the back for that one, I guess. I guess just general thoughts overall. Like Hannah said, I usually complain if movies are about 2 hours long. I find it to be excessive. 90 minutes is good enough for everyone involved. But again, this movie, I really was kind of captured by it the whole time. Nothing, like Hannah was saying, was dragged on for too long. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. And like we were saying, a lot more than we thought that we would. I remember watching the Oscars when this movie was a big contender, and I was like, oh, that movie looks dumb. I don't want to watch that movie. It looks weird. But I watched it, and I kind of get the hype around it. And it's not a typical obnoxious Oscars movie. It's an easy plot line to follow, and it's entertaining. It's not super, super dense and unapproachable.
And the rumors are true. Jared Leto was amazing.
Yeah. Definitely Jared Leto was really, really impressive. And Jennifer Garner, Matthew McConaughey, they all did a really nice job with this movie. And also the agent, whatever, the FDA guy, I recognize the actor, but I don't know from where. If anyone can tell me either, it's really bothering me. It's probably from How I Met Your Mother or something, but I just cannot remember.
I'll look it up. We'll look it up later. But
regardless, yes. Now we're going to get into the spoiler section. So if you had not seen this movie yet, go hop on over to Netflix, invest a quick little 2 hours, and then come back. You can find us on Facebook, IGTV, or the YouTube. So find us there.
Yeah, I really recommend it.
Okay. Stamp of approval. So now, spoilers, nitty gritty. Hannah, let's talk.
So we have 3 things we can talk about. I will enumerate them and I'll let you pick. So we can talk about COVID. We can talk about access to Medicare. And we can talk about how this speaks to an example of the system crushing people.
Let's start with that one.
Yeah. So I was thinking, while watching this movie, this movie does a great job of describing through illustration of what organizing looks like. And that's what Woodford was doing. He was an organizer. He was rallying people to be around him. And although he was selling his prescription, so what do they call membership is what he said. He was selling memberships. And so like, of course there had to be money tied to it because everything in this capitalist system only runs on money. There is no free resource giving. It's all money, which is an issue in and of itself, especially in the pharmaceutical company. We can talk about that when we talk about Medicare. But in this movie, you just continuously watch the FDA and like the State Department try and break up relationships of organizing. They were constantly inundating him with like, oh, here's a warrant. Oh, here's another warrant. Oh, you are a priest now? Oh, we need to stop you and check your bags because. And so it's like the government is constantly trying to stop us, break us apart, and then ensure we don't come back together so we don't get access to things that we would typically have by ourselves. Yeah.
Kind of going off that point, what I will say is that a lot of, yes, Woodruff was selling these memberships to get these drugs that were illegal. But at the end of the day, I mean, they were just unregulated. They weren't really illegal. Like, he wasn't out here dealing hard drugs to people, hurting people. I mean, everyone in his membership club thanked him, essentially, and said, oh, you're helping us. Because all the hospitals and all of the medical systems that these people were going to, they were only pushing the AZT. They're saying this is the only treatment that we have. And to be fair, AZT was the most effective treatment at the time that they had. They were just dosing it wrong because there wasn't enough science really behind it. They didn't really know what to do. But these pharmaceutical companies were pushing this on them. And I mean,
because they're motivated by money alone.
Yes. But what I would say, kind of going off your point, I mean, all I know for sure that they mentioned like zinc. Woodruff was taking zinc, and then peptide T was like a big one. It was just like a protein enzyme or something.
Right.
Science person. But wasn't that it was approved by the FDA, but they just wanted to take it away from him? There was one that was like approved and allowed by the FDA. They said it was safe to take, but they still took it away from him. That was in the ending court case. Was that the peptide T? Because they let him continue taking it after that court case. Even though he lost.
So. Yeah, even though he wasn't allowed to distribute it, like they let him take it, which is stupid because like you're gonna save one person and let all these other people die. Like everyone had memberships. That was the issue. Like the government doesn't care about what's happening as long as they can control it and then also make money off of it. So if like you die in collateral, oh well, because they made money. That's all they care about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So
that's what this movie speaks to me. That's why I think I like it so much, because the more you think about it, the more I like. That's all I can think about is how that's what this movie describes to me.
Yeah, because I mean, the FDA and I guess even the DEA, because they were involved at one point, are portrayed as kind of the antagonists because they were medical facilities. That one doctor, not Eve, played by Jennifer Garner, but the other one, I don't remember his name.
He's from American Horror Story, but I don't remember.
We'll talk about American Horror. I didn't like American Horror Story that much after Asylum, but regardless, Upper Coven. So sorry, but regardless,
you didn't like Freak Show.
No, forgive me. It wasn't really my thing. Anyways, yeah, these were all the antagonists of the movie. They were working against it, and yes, sure, what they were doing on paper was against the rules, but I mean, who was being harmed by what he was doing? They were just upset that Woodruff was profiting off of it, was the root of the problem. Like Hannah was saying, they didn't really care that people were getting better. They didn't care about the science that Woodruff had, because Woodruff had documentation that what he was doing was helping people. Right. They didn't care because, like Hannah was saying, they couldn't control it. And I think that's a really interesting perspective that they chose to really emphasize throughout the entire movie. I mean, Woodruff had a heart attack because of the peptide T, whatever. Or, oh, no, it was like
that shot.
Yeah, it was a thing he got from Japan. Like,
they didn't really say what it was. Oh,
it was,
yes.
Yeah, Interferon, something like that. Yes, that gave him a heart attack, and yes, he was hospitalized. But the first thing that they did was immediately give him AZT. I'm sorry, forgive me. I'm not a doctor, but don't typically. I guess maybe not in life-saving situations, but most people have to consent to procedures.
I think
and
once
Woodruff had made it abundantly clear that he didn't want this. Go ahead.
I was gonna say once you are in a like life or death situation, they have full control over your body.
Okay. Sometimes yes, but the thing is, he came in for a heart attack. He didn't come in because he had AIDS.
Right. True.
That's why he was in the hospital. So it was an unrelated thing that they were treating. And yes, sure, he needed the AZT. That was the one treatment they had. But I mean, if
now
anyone,
they can charge him for it, like.
Well, yes, if you want to talk about the money, then yeah, they're going to charge him for it, of course. But if that's not the issue, like, I don't think you can start treating it without me consenting. Like, if I come in, like, I'm having a heart attack, but then they find, like, melanoma on me, they can't just start giving me, like, a bunch of treatments for it without asking me if I'm okay with it. You know what I mean?
I don't know, because they already knew he had AIDS at the time.
Yeah, but he already made it abundantly clear that he didn't want AZT.
I mean, I don't know why they did it.
I don't know either. That's something that struck me in this movie is more about the medical field. How does it work? If anyone could let me know, because I'm going to do some intensive Googling after this. I'll probably find all kinds of misinformation.
I don't know.
Okay. Fair enough. Would you like to move on to your next point?
Yes. So so COVID or Medicare?
Either one, COVID is fine.
Okay. Well, so while watching this movie, I was trying to find the similarities because it was so like this movie is pretty much the same thing that's going on now with the COVID vaccine, with people like dying, which was the main thing the doctor said was that like people are dying, that's why it's rushed. People are dying, that's why we need it now. Like people are dying. It doesn't really matter who dies in the process of these experiments as long as we know it's going to work so that more people can live. Like that was his mentality. Like he didn't care how many people died as long as like they found one drug that worked that would like prevent AIDS and stuff. But makes you wonder, like, that's the same thing that's happening now. But that's just something I'm wondering, not saying it's true.
Oh, I didn't understand but I didn't understand like what that whole thing was. Yes, watching this movie, it's impossible not to think of the parallels between this and COVID. It's just impossible. I mean, it's what everyone's thinking about. At least me, I think about it all the time, constantly preoccupied with the thought of COVID. Because how can you not? Regardless, though, yeah, I mean, it's definitely scary thinking about this vaccine when, I mean, throughout the whole movie, the AZT, according to Woodruff, was hurting people and killing people, and people on the AZT were dying more often than not. And it's just interesting to think that, like, this COVID vaccine also came out very, very quickly. And these parallels, I mean, make it a little frightening. Of course, there's, I will say, more research.
Exactly.
Into the COVID vaccine currently, and this AZT was definitely the opposite of that. There was almost no research, and any research that came out was like mostly negative throughout the entire movie. They noted, but the U.S. only displayed the positive information, saying like, "Oh, it works. Look at these studies." Ignore that one that says it doesn't work. You know, that's what that doctor, he wasn't really a doctor, but in Mexico said in the movie.
Oh yeah, that's what they were doing. They're just pushing away studies.
Oh, look at this study in France. Like, they didn't publish this one, though. And so it's just interesting to think about all the different perspectives kind of on this treatment, the AZT. It's definitely interesting. I mean, at the time, AZT was a huge medical breakthrough. I mean, if you were diagnosed with HIV and eventually, you became AIDS, then it was a 100% death rate. There was no surviving. And now with the development of AZT and further technologies, I mean, we've been able to people can live with AIDS for a very long time. And so it's definitely interesting to kind of see from that aspect. I mean, I found it interesting.
No, I did as well. We'll talk about it more after the break.
Yeah, a little quick commercial.
Information. If it exists in writing, we print it. If it exists online, we update it. If it exists on mobile, we notify. If it exists in video, we show it. If it exists in audio, we play it. In the past, the news had to wait for a paper to print for it to happen. Today, news happens in real time. It's analyzed, edited, and published immediately by us, your neighbors, and of course, you. Wherever you are, you write, edit, give opinions, share photos, and make the news happen. This is why a paper needs to be on print, on screen, and on your phone. Wherever you are, your news has its pulse in the community. The Boca Raton Tribune. We are much more than just a newspaper. We are your closest neighbor.
Welcome back.
Shocked me a little bit.
I'm Megan.
Hannah.
That's Hannah. Before we continue, make sure to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, really wherever, at Boca Tribune. Make sure to follow us. Continue, though, Hannah. We were talking about the COVID vaccine and parallels doing this in the AZT treatment, and how the AZT treatment was very scary at the time, but it proved to be almost kind of to the effect of something is better than nothing in terms of the medical community when dealing with AIDS or HIV.
Yeah, so I looked it up really quick, and I was like, was the COVID-19 vaccine rushed? And or like the trial, was it rushed? And I don't know, like,
yeah,
who's to say if it parallels 100%, but like the idea of a parallel is there, so it's kind of frightening to think about, like you were saying. But I don't know how, like, I don't know, because it's just makes it's like, and that's another dimension to the movie, because like you're 100% there, like empathizing with them because you understand what that fear is like taking a trial drug, not knowing it's actually gonna harm you more than help you, but like you have to take the risk. It's almost, you know what I mean? That's kind of what this movie tells you. Like, in order to progress, like you have to take the risk. And then the same way where with like Woodford, you see like even if the government's abandoning you, you need to find your own way. And like we are here, like the people, to help each other do that. So
I find another kind of aspect of this to be a little bit, I guess sad is the best word to kind of describe this. When kind of the trial of this AZT, I mean, we see Rayon, played by Jared Leto, and I don't know if they ever specifically mention Rayon's pronouns. Right.
I mean, Woodford always said he, but like I don't think
a raging homophobe.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm just gonna say Rayon. I'm gonna do they. I think is the most respectful. But regardless, so Rayon was involved with this double-blind study, and I think that that's scary. I mean, if you're in a situation where you're absolutely, I mean, again, like we were saying, AIDS had a 100% mortality rate. Everyone who got diagnosed with AIDS died at this time. It was set in like the 80s, by the way. We didn't say, but you should know because this is spoilers. Regardless, I mean, 100% mortality rate, that's scary. And you saw kind of the desperation in people to sign up for these double-blind studies where, like, Woodford. McConaughey.
That's fine.
He was saying, "Oh, you're giving sugar pills to people that are dying," and I mean, yeah, like that's just yes, we are. That's the only response to it. I mean, it's sad, but the initial trials for treatments or vaccinations or anything, I mean, people inevitably are going to die just because they're at kind of the precipice of a breakthrough of medical technology. And it's really sad to think about when you kind of go back and look at it. I mean, it's 2020. This was the 80s. Really wasn't that long ago.
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. Sorry, I don't have much to say else because I
want to move on. Let's talk about
okay.
Medicare or healthcare in general.
Well, this kind of goes to the same point the first one makes, where the government like will literally always. And when I say government, just like federal government, I guess in general. Like it doesn't have to be state, like local, because that doesn't necessarily. Usually, local government is kind of more in tune with the population that they're representing, but like the federal government is so out of touch, and it's just so obvious in this movie and what's happening now. Like people are dying because they can't get food, and our government won't pass a bill that will save people's lives. Like it's just the same thing that keeps happening, and yeah. So this is an example of how, like, if you don't have the money to pay for like these membership dues, or if you don't have the resources to like be in a hospital and then also like be able to partake in this trial, that not everyone can, like through the ACT trials, like you're gonna just die, and that's it. Like there's nothing else they can do for you. Like there is no, and even if there was, like, let's say this was a movie taken in the 90s or something, like you still have to have money to be able to afford the ACT, because you're not gonna just get it for free. And so if you don't have the money, like you're still gonna die. So like having enough money to pay for a bill shouldn't be a necessary condition of getting adequate treatment and medical care. But it is in our country.
Yes, it's definitely interesting to see, because I mean, you see people kind of, I mean, not even necessarily in this movie, but just in general in life, you see people go through these horrible kind of, not medical disasters is the wrong thing to say, but I guess medical situations where you're dealing with something really hard, like you need this surgery, you need X, Y, Z, whatever. And the first thing they ask is, oh, how much is it going to cost? Because that's the most important factor to them. Like living and dying, oh, whatever. But how much can it cost? Like, can I afford to financially cripple me and my whole family if I might just die in the end anyways? So, you know, it's interesting even to think about. And you kind of see that you see this monetary corruption, though, not only in the FDA and the DEA and all of the government, as you were saying before, but you see this corruption kind of trickle down into Woodruff himself, into Rayon as well. I mean, you see this trickle down effect, and it's interesting because Rayon was splitting their share of the AZT initially during the double-blind study for like $5,000 for half every time there's a new bottle of medication. Woodruff was charging $400 to be part of his membership club. I mean, he openly turned someone away when they only had like 35, like $50, like something not enough.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's both.
Yes, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I was just providing points. You know, like the body paragraphs. Okay.
Thank you. This is our essay. This is our thesis.
This is the thesis. I just provided what I needed to for the rest. Regardless. So this movie definitely not only was she entertaining, not only was it was overall a very good movie, great acting, good movie, entertaining, good script. Not only all of those things, but definitely interesting movie to think about the commentary that it was kind of speaking to and the parallels you can create between this movie and then our society as a whole, you know, in totality.
Yeah.
Probably wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I like movies that can do that are kind of, yes, they're good, but they also speak to something else. Like, for example, I'm thinking of Ending Things. Not the best movie to sit through, but a great movie to discuss. This movie was both.
Yeah.
Completely different vibes, though. Different comparisons. But like, you kind of get what I'm poking at here.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the color schemes in those movies are complete opposite. So you just know they're complete opposite moods. Like, so it's funny, but
hilarious. Regardless, how to kind of lighten the mood and bring us back to Hannah and Megan, you know, joke time. Let's play a fun little game. It's not a game, but the actors who were supposed to play Ron Woodruff before Matthew McConaughey.
Couldn't even guess. Like, I don't even know. I'm gonna guess people that just look like Matthew McConaughey.
Okay, well, you're never gonna guess.
Okay, fair. So just tell me.
Yeah. So 1996's pick, because this movie was in the works.
Should I look these people up? Am I gonna know who they are?
Who they all are. You'll know who they are. know who they all are. If you don't, quick Google. 1996's pick, Woody Harrelson.
I mean,
no.
I can see it working. See it working. Like, I thought about it. I thought about him in like Hunger Games, but him with like a mustache. I feel like it could work. Like, or even every character is the same.
Hannah, think of Woody Harrelson and think of the things Matthew McConaughey was doing throughout the whole movie. Just think about Woody Harrelson in that exact role.
Make it nasty. Like, I feel like that's what it would be. Like, he would be a nasty character.
And that's the thing. Matthew McConaughey was very human in this role. And you kind of, he was nasty, but you felt bad for him. You resonated with him. You wanted the best for him. I feel like Woody Harrelson, I don't know if I'd want the best for him by the end of this movie. 2002's pick. We have 3, by the way. There's 3 people.
Wait, why did they have multiple picks in like all these years? Was
Woody Harrelson, Woody Harrelson couldn't do it due to financial instability. 2002 person couldn't do it due to like whatever. The other 2 people was just like, it just didn't work out. All right, 2002, Brad Pitt.
I mean, he kind of looks like Matthew McConaughey. Like, I could see that.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
I'm happy it wasn't Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt's really not my cup of tea. I just haven't given him that adequate of a chance. I really can't think of a single movie that he's really been in besides what Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Great movie, but Angelina Jolie did that. Okay, and then like Planet Z or like World War Z or the zombie movie. Like, come on, no. Regardless, like 2008, Ryan Gosling. Just like, come on, everyone.
Ryan Gosling's like a baby. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, he's a toddler.
Like, isn't that like when The Notebook came out? Like, imagine in that, like those 2 movies back to back. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey, needless to say, was the best for this role.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. More fun facts. Ron Woodruff in real life had a daughter and sister that were not shown in this movie, not even mentioned because they weren't in this movie. Because again, it was speaking to the character study of Ron Woodruff as a whole, and they didn't feel the need to include anyone else. The characters of Rayon and Dr. Sachs, Dr. Eve Sachs, who was Jennifer Garner's character, were both fictional. They did not exist in real life. Ron Woodruff was the only like kind of real person. I mean, the truth of the story behind it, yes, all his friends did abandon him when they found out he had AIDS. That was true because they were all homophobic, because at the time that was one of the kind of main propaganda type things. If you had HIV and AIDS, 9 out of 10 times
you're gonna get shunned.
Well, not necessarily you're gonna get shunned, but because the reason you got it was because you engaged in those activities.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was what most public sentiment thought at the time. So definitely interesting to think about all these things. Ron Woodruff himself was interviewed by the screenwriter because, again, this movie had been in production for a very, very long time. So Ron Woodruff was able to be involved with the screenwriting process, interviewed personal diaries, etc. So I think this movie did a pretty good job of sticking to the actual script. But that is all I have to say. Hannah, anything else?
I'm good. Yeah, okay. I think we got a lot covered. This movie was a lot to unpack, more than I had anticipated.
Yes.
So I'm happy we got into it.
Yes.
I hope you guys thought something along the way.
Very good. Join us next week. We're going to be doing Trial of the Chicago 7. You can find it on Netflix. See you Tuesday, 7 p.m.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
I went to go